push your scapula out. Make your arm longer, like this. This makes your arm longer. If you look at the best players, and there's still pictures right at the point of release, they all have their shoulder out at the release. It means that they are not pulling, but actually pushing the elbow out. This is what you want to do. It looks like this from this angle. Elbow is out, and then you throw there. No look. I'm not turning my head like this. I'm throwing the disc there, and afterwards I only turn my head.
Is to get the outside edge of the disc, what I refer to as the 6 o'clock part of the disc, tucked into your right pec. Think about that as you get to your coil. Immediately from full extension, go 6 o'clock into the right pec. It's actually good, it's what you should be doing, to start slowly here, and then as you get into this position, now whip out of it.
Bring the disc in and just keep pulling it. Just get it deeper and farther forward forever, okay? And as our shoulders turn, it's just gonna fling out.
I don't do any active pulling or anything. I get into a position and I use my hips. Because my arm is not just gonna stop here, it's attached to my body. So to me, there's not really a reason to actively pull. The bigger the separation here is, so the more my hip is already facing the target while my disc is still back, the further you're gonna throw. That's the lag we're talking about. And for me, I kind of wanna create this feeling of not my arm pulling the disc through, but my body pulling my arm through. So I get into a position, and once I'm there, it's basically completely loose. And all I'm doing is I'm twisting here, coiling, whatever you want to call it, and then my disc is gonna follow anyway. So that's something that I try to do before every shot, is make sure I don't hold the disc super hard. I just kind of want it to be natural. No matter where you are before you start rotating, once you start rotating, your arm has to be close to the body. So what I do, for example, when it comes to this is, during my reach back, my arm is probably somewhere around here. I'm not really sure, but somewhere in this area. And then I kind of bring my arm here close to the body and kind of help the rotation.
We've been able to focus on the top,
Right.
which I think may be one of the top 10 worst things in golf, is focusing on your top position. I know where I want it, but how do I move forces so that the club goes through that spot, rather than that being a static position? Because if you static the top, there's no way to sequence correctly.
You're gonna push yourself into the ground like this, and it's gonna push your hip back, and it's gonna be super fast. Now the left part of the hip doesn't have to move at all when you do this. You're in your position, and watch my left hip. When I push, it's almost staying in place. It's by just starting off in a standstill position and focusing on nothing but the right hip going back. Make sure you're not doing this. Make sure you stay in one place and just get the right hip back. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take our left hand and put it into our pocket right here. And then with our hand in the pocket, we're just gonna try to throw. So here's how that should look like. You have to push into the ground almost sideways. So instead of coming from up above, you want to come really from the side and plant the foot nice and horizontally so that the ground can push your hip back for you. What we want to do is, once we are in this reach back position with our shoulders nice and open, we want to get our hips kind of against that, working against it. So while our shoulders are facing back, our hips are kind of facing the front. It's okay to be a little bit open towards here, but mainly the front. Now, the reason we want to do this is because when our shoulders are facing back, nice and open, and our hips are already kind of loading, we can already, and you can actually try this for yourself, when you get into a position like this, you can already feel the tension in your abs and your entire core. So there's already kind of a tension going through here. And once you're here, all you have to do is get the right hip back, and you're instantly gonna feel that power and you're gonna get the maximum out of your reach back. So we wanna be here, there's already tension, and all we have to do from here is get the right hip back. So that tension of the shoulders being back, the hips being to the front, that should already be there before you even start your swing. So if your right foot is on the ground, let's say you came from a run-up position, right foot hits the ground, you already want to feel that tension. But it doesn't seem forced, and that's exactly what we want. So the goal for us is that after our run-up, we're in a position where our shoulders are totally open. About 90 degrees seems to be the way to go. I don't really like to think in degrees, but it just is the way it is. Where we have a nice and long reach back, our hips are already loaded, and from here everything works nice and easy. Reach back, hit or plant with the hips facing this way and then rotating. I really want to be tall, upright, and just have like a good posture during the entirety of my swing. That way I'm going to make sure that my hips really stay under me. Build up tension, then plant, then rotate, brace,